Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Welcome back to Harry's Highlights. On this video, we're going to talk about the book Atomic Habits. Now this is all about making small improvements leading to massive success. It's about understanding how you don't see atoms, but you know they make up the bigger part. And that's what habits is about. Understanding how habits are basically they're designed to make things easier in your life or to automate certain parts of your life by using less resources. It's basically your way's mind of making smaller things put on autopilot. But the bigger thing I want to talk about is understanding how much of an effect habits have on our life. Habits, like routines, are broken down into habits. The whole way a routine, anything in life, your morning routine, a great example is you wake up, you'll have a cue that triggers a habit. Your alarm goes off, so you wake up, part of that habit there might be to then go shower, then maybe make a coffee, eat breakfast, and all that is a habit. It's how you do it every single day. That was routine, and that routine is broken down into habits. Now, Atomic Habits is breaking down those habits again into their small individual parts. And it's about categorizing them into positive and negative, and then changing the negative habits. See, there's a thing called marginal gains. Marginal gains is about breaking everything down into individual parts and improving each individual part by just 1%. Because if you can improve something by just 1%, the compound effect kicks in. And over time, 1% each and every time that you decide to work on it will eventually reach the 100% change. Now, understanding that in a different way is that if you look at an ice cube, it takes 1 degree of difference for an ice cube to melt. An ice cube might be frozen right up until, say, 4 degrees, but at 5 degrees, it now starts to melt. But at 4 degrees, it was absolutely fine. Just 1 degree more is what it took for it to melt. Anything before that, 4 degrees, 3 degrees, 2 degrees, 1 degree, nothing changed, no melting. Same thing can happen with a habit. You might feel that you're sitting at 1 degree, you're now at 2 degrees. You made a small change, but there hasn't been anything different. You haven't noticed anything yet. It's okay, because you've got to get to 5 before that significant change, before that visible change happens. You make another 1% change. You're now at 3 degrees. You're still going well, I've made 2 changes, still nothing's changed. There's nothing I've noticed. 4 degrees, still nothing. 5 degrees, you're going this is ridiculous, there's nothing. And then all of a sudden you notice it. It starts changing. And I was but everything beforehand, I didn't notice anything. But that had to happen for you to get to 5 degrees, for that ice cube to start melting, for that change to be visible. You had to have everything else there beforehand. But it would be too difficult for sometimes and some people to go from 1 degree all the way to 5 degrees. It's too much change, too much too quickly. So marginal gains, 1% improvements, compounded over time. 1 degree here, 1 degree, 1 degree. All of them put together got us to 5 degrees, and that's when the change was noticeable. That is when you started to notice a difference. That is when you start to notice improvements. But everything before that, it seemed like nothing was happening. Another great example is the Chinese bamboo tree. You hear about the Chinese bamboo tree, which takes 5 years to grow. 5 years before you notice anything. Part of that problem is that for that entire 5 years, you have to water it every single day. You miss 1 day. 1 day missed, and that bamboo tree will not grow. Just to think of that persistence, that consistency. You have to maintain that for 5 years. But you know what happens at the end of the 5 years? Within 6 hours, that bamboo tree will grow 1 meter. Within 6 days, it grows something like 60 meters on average. But for 5 years, there was nothing. For 5 years, you look like a fool watering dirt. All your neighbors looking at you going what are you doing that thing? And go, yeah, you'll see. It's just like that ice cube. That 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees, no difference. But you're consistently and persistently making the changes. 4 degrees, it's yeah, nothing's going to change. 5 degrees, it started melting. Year 5, that bamboo tree it breaks through the surface. And you're everything I did up until that point was worth it. Now it's going to pay off. And then that bamboo tree explodes with growth. Then that ice cube just starts to melt faster and faster. Then that habit that you're trying to change all of a sudden becomes easier, and you start to notice all these other changes in your life because it's a flow-on effect. All these other positive habits start coming and start happening and developing for you. But everything before that had to happen. Those small incremental improvements, that marginal gains, you had to keep just a game of like inches and millimeters, you know, not a game of like meters and kilometers. It's such small little wins. And it's understanding that like all this had to happen for that major change to start to happen. Now, part of that, looking at that overall, it's to look at changing habits and how you do things. You've got to change the identity you have with yourself. You've got to change the way that you believe, with your belief about yourself. You've got to look at it like, this is what I want to be, this is what I am, and this is what I believe, but I believe I'm going to become this. When you change that belief, when you start to look at yourself, or you make that decision, this is how I'm going to be, and you start working towards it by having these little small wins, you'll start to change that habit. But if you're just going like, I'm just going to do it because this is what like I need to do, but you don't have the belief, it's the difference between willpower and why power. You know, willpower will get you only so far. Why power will always get you all the way, because your why is that I'm deciding I'm going to be that. I will become that person. I believe I can be that person. That's why you're doing it. Willpower is like, I said I had to do it, so I just have to do it. You know, it's drag your feet, sort of like that mentality. But that why power is that I'm making that change. I'm no longer going to be a smoker. I'm no longer an alcoholic. I'm no longer going to be overweight. I'm deciding that's going to happen. And you have these small wins. Incremental changes. With the smoking, it might be one less cigarette. With the alcohol, you know, it might be one less night you're drinking. With the weight change, it might be just one extra walk, one like change to your diet, you know, not eating that extra, you know, sugary food or junk food. Small incremental wins is what's going to get you there. And that's the easiest way to change your habits, to change your belief, change your identity, and decide that that's not what you are now, is not what you're going to be, and you're working towards that through small wins. But you've got to take time to track those habits, and those wins that you've got there, so you can see yourself becoming the person you've decided you want to become. And by having that on those days where it's like those incremental changes, when it's like it's been 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees, I haven't noticed any difference, you can look back and go, I was at 1 degree, I'm now at 4 degrees. This is proof that I've made changes. Even if I can't see them yet, here's the proof of all the times I've put the effort in, that I know I've made those changes and it's going to pay off. Just as you understood that, like that person watered that bamboo tree that crossed off another day. It's like, just another day. It's been 600 days and no different. 5 years, it's been a year, it's been 2 years, 3 years, 4 years I've been doing this and nothing has changed. But remembering that, yes, but for 4 years I've been putting in that effort. This will happen because I've decided, this is my belief, I've changed my identity. And then on 5 years, it's like, come on, there's got to be some difference. And, you know, from 5 degrees to 6 degrees, come on, there's got to be some difference. And at 5 years, all of a sudden, that bamboo tree breaks through the surface and you see all the work you put into. At 5 degrees, you see the ice cube melting. After all that work, you start to see what's happened. Because you tracked it, you've got a chance to remind yourself of all the work you've put in. And then all of a sudden, all of your work all of a sudden pays off. You get this flooding feeling of relief and accomplishment. But in the meantime, tracking your habits keeps you on track, keeps you knowing that, yes, this is happening. Even if I can't see it yet, here's proof that it is happening. And understanding that, like, it's those small atoms of the habit that make it up. So those small marginal gains are so important. It's not the major gains, it's the small improvements leading to massive results. It's not major improvements. Everything is all about compounding lots of small things. The reason why, like, you know, a colony of ants can build such mega structures is because it's lots of small little parts working together. Anytime you look at these massive buildings, they're all held together with small little parts, nuts and bolts and things in comparison to the building. It's not giant things just all put together. It's all small things holding it together. You look at planes, helicopters, they're all held together with pop rivets. Small things holding these massive things together. When you understand that everything is broken down into small parts, your habits, good and bad, are all broken down into, like, the size of an atom that can be broken down into, and understanding changing those one by one eventually will make a change in that bigger thing. The difference, you know, chemically, the difference between, you know, adding, if you've got hydrogen, 2 parts hydrogen, you add 1 part oxygen, you've got water. You add 1 more, the whole thing changes again, just from adding 1 atom. The same thing with your habits. You've got to look at them, break them right down into the small incremental parts, make those marginal gains, and compound them over time. And that's what we're talking about with Atomic Habits. So to quickly summarize on all of that, we're talking about small improvements leading to massive success. marginal gains and 1% compounding to eventually reach that goal. Understand that you might not see atoms, but they make up the entire bigger part of anything. And understanding that that's the same thing with your habits. You may not see the small parts, but when you break them down, you understand that that is what makes up the habit. Those small improvements may not be noticeable at first, but they do add up. Understanding that it takes 1 degree of difference to make that ice cube melt, and everything before that was always important, always leading you towards that goal, building up to that goal. The easiest way to change your habit is by changing your identity or belief about yourself. As soon as you believe or decide to believe that this is what you're going to be, this is what you're going to achieve, you will achieve it. The difference between that why power and willpower. Understanding why you want to achieve it as opposed to I have to do this because I'm being disciplined. That is why that's what's going to make it easier. Understanding that you're going to decide what you want to be and then you're going to prove it with these small wins, these small incremental gains, these marginal gains. And that the changing of your identity will happen with small wins. So you'll make the decision, you'll prove it by having small wins, and incrementally, your identity, what you believe will start to happen based on those small wins. So you have to track them. Track those wins, and on those times of doubt and frustration, you look back at what you've been tracking and go, yes, this is proof that it's all going to happen. This is proof that I've been putting in the effort and that it will pay off. And that is how you understand atomic habits and how you can lead small improvements can lead to massive results. Now we're going to be making a lot more of these videos for these training series to help you with your personal development goals. That's all for now though, so until next time, leave a comment below on what you like the most and look forward to sharing more with you in the next episode of Harry's Highlights.